Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Are you ready to dive deep into Chapter 1 of the Story of Western Science?
Always excited to explore the history of science.
So, before we get to the big names like Thales, let's set the scene.
Okay.
Imagine you're an ancient Greek, gazing up at the stars. What's your worldview like?
Well, you'd see the world around you, the trees, the mountains, everything as composed of simple, solid elements.
Like earth, air, fire, and water.
Exactly. No atoms, no complex particles, just these fundamental building blocks. And these elements were thought to be eternal, unchanging.
Eternal and unchanging. It sounds almost peaceful in a way.
It does have a certain order to it, but it also makes understanding how things work incredibly challenging.
I can see that. How do you figure out the mechanisms behind the world if everything is just there?
Right. It's like Einstein and Enfeld said, trying to understand the universe from this perspective is like looking at a closed watch.
A closed watch.
Yeah, you see the hands moving, but you have no idea about the intricate gears and springs that make it tick.
Oh, I like that analogy. It really highlights the limitations they must have felt in their understanding of the universe.
Precisely. And remember, to add another layer of complexity, the gods were not some distant beings.
They weren't just hanging out on Mount Olympus.
Not at all. They were intimately intertwined with everyday life.
So if, let's say, the crops failed, it wasn't a drought, it was an angry god.
Exactly. Or if you won a battle, it wasn't due to your brilliant strategies, but the favor of a god.
So even if they could predict something like the flooding of the Nile, like the Egyptians, it was still attributed to the gods.
You got it. That's what makes someone like Thales so remarkable.
Ah, yes, Thales. He's considered the first philosopher, the first scientist. But his big theory was that the universe was made of water.
Yeah, water. Now, of course, we know that's not right.
Right.
But to call him wrong misses the point entirely. Think about the monumental shift in thinking this represents. Instead of saying Zeus makes it rain, Thales was searching for an explanation within the natural world itself.
He was trying to open that closed watch, so to speak.
Exactly. He might not have had the right tools for the job, but he was asking a whole new kind of question. That's what we call Thales' leap.
It's not about being right or wrong, but about the audacity to ask a different kind of question.
Absolutely. And it's this shift in thinking, this search for natural explanations, that lays the foundation for all of science. But Chapter 1 doesn't stop there. It also delves into the world of medicine with the Hippocratic corpus.
Oh yes, the Hippocratic corpus. So we've gone from the cosmos to the human body. What's so groundbreaking about the Hippocratic approach?
Well, just like Thales challenged prevailing beliefs about the universe, Hippocrates did the same for medicine.
Yeah.
Back then, if you got sick, it was seen as a punishment from the gods. But Hippocrates was like, nope, I think there's a natural reason for this.
He was like the first doctor to say, hold on, let's actually look for a cause here.
Exactly. So instead of blaming the gods, he developed his own theories. And that's where his theory of the four humors comes in.
The four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile.
Yes. He believed that an imbalance in these humors was the root of all illnesses, which, again, is not scientifically accurate. But here's the interesting thing.
What's that?
Some of his treatments, based on this theory, were actually effective.
Wait, so even though his theory was off, his treatments worked. How is that possible?
Well, think about some of the things he recommended. Avoiding stagnant water, getting fresh air, even moving to a different climate.
Right.
These things can actually improve your health, even if not for the reasons he thought.
That's pretty amazing. He kind of stumbled onto some good medical advice while trying to balance these, well, wacky humors.
You could say that. And what's really important is that his success, however unintentional, showed people that there was a different way to approach healing.
Through observation, reason, and natural explanations.
Exactly. It was a major shift in mindset.
So we've got Thales and Hippocrates shaking things up. But I imagine not everyone in ancient Greece was ready to just, like, ditch the gods and embrace water universes and weird humors.
Oh, definitely not. This wasn't some overnight revolution in thinking. The ancient world was steeped in tradition and mythology.
Right.
These new ideas were emerging, but the old ways were still deeply ingrained in their culture.
Yeah, it must have been a wild time to be alive.
Yeah.
Like trying to reconcile these new ideas with the beliefs you've held your entire life.
Imagine trying to explain to your family that actually Zeus didn't cause that lightning strike.
Huh.
It was static electricity in the clouds.
Right, yeah. Pass the olives, Dad. And by the way, your understanding of the universe is totally wrong. But seriously, how did they navigate that tension between old and new ways of thinking?
Well, it seems like they found ways to blend them. Remember that quote from Thales, all things are full of gods?
Oh,
He wasn't necessarily rejecting the divine. He was trying to understand it in a new way.
so maybe it wasn't about abandoning their beliefs completely, but more about expanding them to include these new insights.
That's a really interesting perspective. Less about replacing the old with the new and more about integrating them. It was an evolution of thought, not a sudden break from the past.
Which makes sense when you think about it. Even
Yeah.
today, with all our scientific advancements, we still grapple with big questions.
Right.
The meaning of life, the universe, things science can't always answer.
That's a great point. And I think it speaks to the enduring power of those early questions.
Yeah.
The questions that sparked this whole journey of scientific inquiry. We're still trying to make sense of the world, just like those ancient Greek philosophers were.
And that's what I find so exciting about studying the history of science.
Yeah.
It's not just about dates and discoveries.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how humans have always tried to understand the world around them,
Hmm.
even when the answers were, really hard to find.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that the scientific process isn't about being right or wrong.
Right?
It's about the constant pursuit of knowledge,
Yeah.
the willingness to question, to explore, to revise our understanding as we learn more.
It's a journey of discovery.
Yeah.
And chapter 1 of the story of Western science gives us a glimpse into the very first steps of that journey. It's amazing to think how these early ideas paved the way for everything that came after. It's a total shift in perspective, from explaining the world with myths and legends to searching for answers through observation and reason.
A truly fundamental change. It's no longer about accepting what you're told.
Right.
It's about questioning, investigating, looking for evidence.
And isn't that, like, at the heart of science? It's not about having all the answers.
Right.
It's about constantly pursuing knowledge, challenging what we think we know,
Mm-hmm.
and always refining our understanding as we go.
Absolutely. And it's that spirit of curiosity that still drives scientific progress today.
It really is, yeah. We build on the work of those who came before us, always pushing the boundaries of knowledge.
Exactly.
And it's kind of humbling to think about how pioneers like Thales and Hippocrates, dared to challenge the accepted norms and set us on this incredible path of discovery.
Their legacy is woven into how we approach the world today, from our understanding of the universe to how we diagnose and treat diseases.
It's everywhere, yeah. So as we wrap up our deep dive into chapter 1 of the story of Western science, it's clear that this is really just the beginning of the story.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much more to explore, discoveries to uncover, whole new ways of thinking to grapple with.
Absolutely. And we invite you to join us on this incredible journey. Stay curious, keep questioning, and never stop exploring the wonders of the scientific world.
Beautifully said. And thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Be sure to check out our discussion of Chapter 2. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth explorations of all sorts of fascinating topics. Keep those brains buzzing. We'll see you in the next episode.